them and that in the way we do. That's what management of your environment means. They're part of your environment. You have to learn how to manage them. That's why a certain amount of friends we know, if they said, if they do this to me one more time, I'm going to do that. That's what some say. So they say that they shoot some stupid band that they send out. They got a zillion people they could send them same stupid guys out to play like they don't know what they're doing. And you shoot them, you don't give them one chance. Or they say you shoot them. And you're off the scene. Right? Then why can you allow them to arrest you, do this, and you do that, and they do this, and you do that? Because somebody's in there trying to get them to do certain things. And that's why you can tell when the Israeli mentality is getting in there, because the Israeli mentality is saying, forget about the law. Forget about everything. We never cared about the law here. But there's a special non-caring that the Zionists have. And if you've been around long enough, you can tell when they're infected by Zionism. And when they get infected by Zionism, there's time to make moves associated with keeping that under control. I know this is a lot of mystical chitter-chatter today, but if you're thinking about it, it'll make sense in a while. Are there any questions, any comments about anything?
Yeah, a brother asked, speaking of fulfillment of the Quran, where Islam becomes the dominant faith, with Muslims being sent to Europe and to America, would you agree that this is part of the fulfillment of the Quran?
With Muslims going to
Europe and also
no doubt about it. No doubt about it. They remember, if you had a flag that say, help the Muslims go to Europe, help the Muslims become dominant here or there, right? They would never do that.
Yep.
But if they say an evil, if we kill all the people in Iraq, we're going to get their oil. So they try to kill them. We're going to kill all the people in Libya, right? We're going to kill all those people. And what all the people do? Pack up and go to Europe, right? You got to imagine now, Europe losing population, right? Europe,
sure enough.
Germany, 2.1 half some replacement, they don't have that. They need for their industry now, especially Germany. First of all, when I went there, they just had zillions of Turks. But now they got everybody in Germany. They teaching them machinery, they teaching them, giving them a good education to help Germany send Mercedes all over the world, right? Europe, when I used to visit the UK a lot, I told them we're trying to develop a Muslim community where everybody in the community is Muslim and they hear the Adhan. Well, when I would go, they said, we don't want that. Those are Muslim ghettos. When you drive down the street and you get in a Muslim neighborhood, all the girls going to school have hijab on, halal, they got the stuff we was working on or praying to get, and they didn't want it. Okay, to answer the question directly, this question is already solved. There's enough Muslims in Europe already that in one generation, they will be on par, population and everything else, in Europe, right? Okay, well, that is, the European community is way far ahead of us over here, in some ways, but we're catching up here. You gotta imagine now the kind of people, the first immigrants They just loved America and Europe, and they couldn't make no money in India, Pakistan, so they got on boats, worked in the cotton industry in Europe. You know, Malcolm talked about this in '64 in a couple of lectures of his. The blackening of the population in Europe. That was 50-something, almost 60 years ago. He already saw it then. Imagine what it looks like now. Imagine the shift. Just imagine now. During the last wars and killings that they had in the so-called Middle East, when you take Libya, when you take Syria, Syria has emptied out all of its people almost, headed to Europe, right? Some of them headed to Turkey, whatever they are, they're everywhere. And that's every country that we come from almost. Some of them come all the way from Bangladesh and Pakistan over to the Middle East and Afghanistan, and they go up into Europe. That's a done deal. Because white folks in Europe have 1 point something or the child, and Arabs and Africans have 3 point, 4 point, I don't know. How many else you can fit in, the little places they stay. I'm just trying to tell you. All of those things are already over. They're already, they're already stamped. You don't even know, you could wait 2 weeks, and then the attitude, the Uncle Tom attitude that the Muslims that used to treat us bad at these places sometimes, their children, you've probably heard on the radio, this things about care and all of that. What do the young people say? The young women are all against it, right? That means the young men gonna be against it too, right? In other words, that they were criminals and they absorbed all of that money, and also how they talking to white people. It's as though, hey, we're Americans. We don't have to kiss your behind to, Yeah. What you mean? We're Americans. We have all the rights to this. Not like their parents. Just keep your head down and we'll get something to eat and we'll be fine. Right? They ain't saying that. The young people now, some of them are, but the tide is changing. I'm trying to tell you, everything is going our way. All the coons, they had a wad them. They ready to string them up. We have to get down there to protect them like we used to before, so they won't hang them. Right? Or cut off their hands. The Muslim, get some of the Taliban down there, they may want to cut them jokers' hands off. Anyway, for the question, if you were to just lay it out all on paper and have a big table full of the picture of what's happening now, it's all going our way. The period has already changed. I would like to go to Iran and tell them how I feel about them and their past. But whether we do or not, all the people that was against us with Iran, all Uncle Tom, look what happened to Zarif and them. Look what happened to the foreign ministers. Look what happened to all of their people that they got packed in there. Sometimes just tapes came out. Oh, Zarif and them, and they not saying in their own voice. It come out, we didn't know that stuff was out. They try to go to Syria, they say, you stay here with your white folks. Medea Benjamin them. Right? Remember that? They say you like them, you brought them over here, you stay here with them. You don't need to be over there with us talking about what we're going to do. Right? You look at everything that's happening. And remember, 8 years ago, the brothers were sending us all those messages. We want to get you guys over here in a hurry because the government is changing. In other words, you think they knew who they had? They knew who they had now. in Iran, they know who everybody is. That's why you might not ever hear of, what's the old president from back in he's been under house arrest so long, you forget his name. Khatami. Where is he? He's under house arrest. Forever. Right? Why? The dialogue of civilization. Not dialogue of civilization, dialogue of white folks. You know, wanting to compromise. They know what they got. They know who all of those. Then they have to play it. When you got all these, when you got 35% snitches in your, around you, right? I'm just picking a number. You got to handle that stuff carefully because they're strategically located in every part of the government, but you got them strategically located too. You got your people with them. And you're making real live decisions. And according to the brother's question, we want to play our part here in America. Well, we're not going to try to make nobody, you got to let us help. You don't want no help? Go ahead. Drown. You want to drown? You know, it's like I was talking to one of the Imams in Oakland about certain, his first name is Fahim. You can figure out who it was. Boy, he lived on. We used to be in the community together, and I used to try to get him in physical shape, all kind of different. But anyway, he came out of Masjid one time, and I was telling him, I just want to help you, man. Actually, if I see somebody drowning, I'd want to help him. He said, how do you know I'm drowning? I said, I don't know. All I hear, glug, 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 you know. I mean, you know, so that's the way, this is the attitude. If you lose your humor, it makes you mean. And once you get mean, the game is over. If you get power, you'll be like them. You want people, you got to do what I say because I said it. That's way out of date. So we thank Allah for optimism and humor. And we hope that we're able to incorporate that into the Muslims so that they're not eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Justice prevail. That's the code of Hammurabi. That's a little old. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. You did this to me, I'll do it back to you. You know, I'm not going to go overboard. And the Quran allows you to do that. But then the Hadith say, you know, it's better to forgive, right? Over and over again. So you got a right to do that. So anyway, in answer to the question, we're living in a serious period right now. We thank Allah for being alive during this period. But we know what the period is. If the other people don't know it, that's their business. We done tried to tell them, this is the period for this dispensation. And it's accelerating. That's one of the reasons I can get back to Oakland when I get back there. Number one, the time things are accelerated so fast that Oakland is not technically important. To go and get the masjid back, that's good. But it never went nowhere because it's in our name, right? So I don't have to go back there. The property, the big piece of property that's in our name that they sold, well, it's illegal for them to sell it. I'll get it back. We'll get it back and then we'll charge them, what did we say, $200 million. They said, niggas ain't worth that much money. I said, well, it is. They did this, they did that, da, 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 da. And when they see it, they said, my God, it is worth $200 million. because they'll add up. If you were left alone, your community would be worth more than that. I said, of course. So anyway, are there any more questions or comments?
Well, I had a comment. A brother said, he said, I guess he put the smile emoji on it. He said, Allah doesn't sleep, with the smiling face on it.
Right.
You know,
Hey, man, and no slumber catches him, no sleep.
I got a question.
Yes.
What would you, with everything going on in the world at this time and trying to make it a better place, what would you recommend or suggest to, to anyone as far as the starting point, like as far as helping, like where to start?
Okay, well, starting points is things like we already working about. If you're educated in a certain environment, number one was to protect ourselves and our family, you get in the system. You can see the system is getting ready to crash. Not getting ready to crash. Some parts of the system have crashed. The honor, the respect for the system is gone, especially overseas. The U.S. has double-crossed and let everybody down over and over and over again. They got the pattern. The people are saying, why you do this to us? Their soldiers and sailors and everybody else are saying, those people helped us. They were our guides. They were like scouts for us. We can't speak the language, and they did all of this for us. And now we're doing them like we did the Apaches, throw them on the train with everybody else. But Geronimo said, go to Florida. You're a desert Indian, go to Florida and catch all kind of diseases and colds and flus and die off. That's what they're telling the people of the world. Everybody is mentioning Vietnam and all of that. It's been caught up with boss man. There's nothing